Coming up next on the Holistic Wealth Podcast.
I know in 2023, so many people had a white plastic bag moment. You know, when I wrote that viral article that led to this book, I talked about walking into the hospital with my husband living and breathing and walking out with a white plastic bag full of all his belongings that day. It took 3 hours from the time we walked in with the ambulance to the time he took his last breath.
You're listening to the Holistic Wealth Podcast with host Keisha Blair, author of Holistic Wealth and founder of the Institute on Holistic Wealth. And now, here's your host, Keisha Blair.
Welcome to the Holistic Wealth Podcast, and I'm your host, Keisha Blair. Happy New Year, everyone listening in. I'm so honored and grateful to be sharing such an important day with you and from wherever you're listening in from. And I know we're listened to in over 35 countries across the world. So wherever you're listening in from, whether it's the UK, which is our fastest growing listenership right now, that's the country with the fastest growing listenership for the Holistic Wealth Podcast, or whether you're in Canada or the United States, Germany, Luxembourg, Switzerland, the Caribbean, Jamaica, Mexico, Barbados, wherever you're listening in from, Australia, New Zealand, we're wishing you a happy new year, a prosperous one, a great new year filled with holistic wealth, living holistically wealthy lives. I am so honored to be spending this quick moment with you as we celebrate the start of 2024. So today will be a quick solo episode, and we're going to be discussing how you can opt into holistic wealth in 2024. And that means that we're going to start with tackling what we need to opt out of. And I think, 2023 was such a tough year for so many people, for so many of us, that I think this is so relevant as we start the new year. We all want to start it right. We want to forget the regrets of the past. So many people also suffered losses, grief, loss of immediate family, loss of loved ones. Some people lost jobs. Some people, suffered chronic illnesses in 2023. Some people suffered through a divorce, whatever it is. And I talk about overcoming setbacks in Holistic Wealth, in the Holistic Wealth Expanded Updated Edition. And I know in 2023, so many people had a white plastic bag moment. When I wrote that viral article that led to this book, I talked about walking into the hospital with my husband living and breathing and walking out with a white plastic bag full of all his belongings that day. It took 3 hours from the time we walked in with the ambulance to the time he took his last breath. And all I walked out with after he died was a white plastic bag, his wedding ring, some jewelry, some of the most important items in that white plastic bag. And that white plastic bag moment is forever etched in my mind. And I talk about it in Holistic Wealth. And so I know for so many of you listening in 2023, you suffered a white plastic bag moment. For some people, you probably suffered that white plastic bag moment in 2022 or 2021 or even before COVID-19 or prior to that. And who knows, maybe you've suffered several white plastic bag moments. But I just want you to reflect on that, because I think those moments that we have that we consider to be white plastic bag moments, when we're basically stuck in that moment where we think things are hopeless, where we think, it feels like you're standing at the edge of a precipice and there's nowhere else to go but down, and down fast and furious and to the depths of somewhere that you've never seen before. And I want to tell you and give you that message of hope, because I've been there. And Holistic Wealth, this framework, was what I created out of my experience. These are the steps that brought me back. And it's unbelievable how many people have reached out to me when they've either read the book or connected with me in some other way, whether it's through this podcast or through the Institute on Holistic Wealth, about how much this has helped them. So I just wanted to start off the new year right, opting into holistic wealth. And whether you're listening into this podcast for the very first time in 2024, or you have listened in, or you're a faithful listener every week, welcome. And wherever you are on your holistic wealth journey, whether you're just tipping your toes in the water for the first time, or you're a seasoned holistic wealth advocate, it's a journey, right? And it really never ends. We're always learning, we're always evolving. And so there's never, ever that endpoint. So this is tremendous that we can spend these quick few minutes in 2024 to think about how we're going to opt into holistic wealth this year, make this the year that we really take intentional steps. As I said in holistic wealth is intentional by design. It's something that we do intentionally every day. And once we start to lose sight of that intentionality, then we step out of that zone and we're gone back into another zone that we don't want to be in. So being intentional is the very first step. Now let's talk about what we're going to opt out of in 2024. I'm going through the book as I speak to you, and the book is basically the primer for this episode. So we're going to opt out of shame and guilt and regret. And I started out this episode just talking about how painful 2023 was for some people, for many of us. And so many people might be listening in with regrets, with shame, with guilt around things they didn't get through, goals they set for themselves that they didn't accomplish, or the loss of a loved one and what they think they should have done for that loved one. There's so much guilt around grief. There's guilt around a job loss. There's guilt around our spending or finances. There's guilt around parenting, around our kids, around so many different things. And I want you to opt out of that for 2024, opt out of the guilt, opt out of the shame, and really embrace a new day forward. So I remember writing an article a few years ago, in the book Holistic Wealth, I talk about dry bones, that's the metaphorical term I used for these negative emotions that sometimes just follow us through our daily lives and follow us for years and years and years if we don't end up shedding them, those anxious moments, that anger, that bitterness. And from time to time, we all face this. But what I'm talking about is making it become chronic, where you feel like, and I said this in the book, where you feel like you have an army of dry bones following you. What I'm hoping that we can do in 2024 is to have that letting go, just let go of all that is bogging you down and embrace positive thinking, a holistic wealth mindset. And the holistic wealth mindset is also outlined in the book. And basically, it's just this mindset that helps you overcome these negative emotions by thinking of them not as permanent, but temporary, as win-win, not lose-lose. So in life, you're going to win, you're going to lose. But I think once we get more intentional about our actions, then we experience more positivity in our lives. And so opting out of that shame and guilt is the first thing that, is on the list for opting out of these things that are bogging us down, things from 2023 that we didn't get done, that we would have wanted to change, but didn't get a chance to. Let's just start the new year fresh with a clean slate and not carry that over to a new year. And so the second thing I want you to opt out of is not living life on your terms. So many people, and at one point or another, all of us are guilty of this, just living life on someone else's terms, where you feel like you're walking out of integrity. You feel like you're not walking in alignment with your purpose, your mission, your own goals. You feel like you're living for somebody else or living someone else's life, whether it's because you pursued a profession where that you thought or somebody else or society said, pursue this, or some other kind of goal or challenge that you've set for yourself, walking in alignment with your purpose starts with being true to yourself and true to your own goals. So opting out of living life not on your terms is something that I want us to opt out of. And within that, there are a couple subsets that I'd love to get into. So I've talked about toxic relationships time and time and time again in the book. There's a whole chapter on that. And I'm hoping that in 2024, we can shed those, because so many people get bogged down with toxic relationships, whether it's a toxic friend, a toxic partner, toxic coworker, whatever toxicity exists in, that relationship bucket. And we're talking about all the buckets of holistic wealth. I'm hoping that you can shed any layers of toxicity there so that you can really walk in your mission and walk in your purpose and not have to think about these negative voices bogging you down and telling you what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot achieve. So opting out of toxic relationships is a great thing to do always, whether it's 2024 and beyond. It's amazing what we can do now. Comparison, that's chapter 5 in the book. Opting out of comparing, opting out of the comparisons. It's New Year's Day. On Instagram, on TikTok, on different social media platforms, you'll see various highlight reels. It's the day for that. It started maybe a few days ago as we led up to this day, the best of 2023, things I achieved in 2023. That's all well and good, but comparison is where it gets murky. And so we want to opt out of comparison, walk your own journey. Your journey is unique to you. Your highlight reel should be sacred. And so as you navigate social media, as you start 2024, I'm advocating, and this is for all of us because social media can become toxic. I'm advocating that you be intentional about what you consume on social media and what you let into your space, what you let in to your sacred space in 2024, and protecting that vigorously. The other thing aligned to everything that I'm saying and all these negative emotions, and I want to get to the heart and the nucleus of when we talk about what we want to opt into. So many people, and I started this episode with talking about the struggle and the pain of 2023, and so many people are looking for that hope. And if you're standing at the edge of a precipice right now and you're listening in and you're wondering, where do I go? Because in your vantage point, all you see is down. You don't see a bridge connecting you to another side. And if you look back, it's more grief and pain and sorrow from the past. Well, I'm telling you today, there's hope. It does not have to be down. Spiritual self-renewal is the nucleus for your mission. It's the nucleus for your purpose. It's the nucleus for life. It gives us hope. It allows us to breathe life into recreating something new. So I know I spoke about the white plastic bag moments, serious moments, right, in our lives. And spiritual renewal becomes that nucleus to overcome those white plastic bag moments. So I want you to opt into spiritual renewal in 2024. It's the thing that allows you to re-energize your purpose, to re-energize your goals, to re-energize yourself. And so when I had my white plastic bag moment, honestly, money couldn't bring a loved one back. Money can't solve all health problems, chronic health problems. Money, there's a lot that money cannot do. And that's why holistic wealth is such a wholesome message for overcoming setbacks, because it's never just about the money. It's never just about finances. I advocate for financial independence. Absolutely. Yes. And it's a part of holistic wealth. And it's a very, very important part because it also helps us to overcome those setbacks and those white plastic bag moments. But spiritual self-renewal, in the absence of spiritual self-renewal, your finances can go in disarray. Your relationships can go in disarray, your job, your career. Everything hinges on spiritual self-renewal. And when I talk about spiritual self-renewal, what was critical for me? Prayer, meditation, mindfulness, spending time in nature. But I said prayer first because prayer became number one. Number one, waking up, meditating, praying. I remember waking up in the early morning, just praying with connection and just feeling like God was walking me through this. God was there beside me. And I'm saying this to you today as an important message to start 2024. And I'm saying this with my heart that for a lot of us, that's what we need. And that's where the answers lie. And it's for every one of us. It's absolutely for every single one of us. And so holistic wealth is this very holistic approach. It's not just about the money because it's never just about the money. And if everything else goes wrong in your life, yes, the finances will go in disarray too. The finances will follow the trend. Just like you have an army of soldiers, if your mental health is not intact, if your physical health is not intact, if your mental, emotional, spiritual, your relationships, your money is going to fall right in line. So all of these things are interconnected. And that's why we need to opt into this holistic wealth approach for our lives, because it's never just about one or the other. It's never just about, well, if I have all this money, I'm going to be happy. As a matter of fact, several studies have shown that it's not that way at all, which we all know by now. So absolutely opting into this holistic wealth approach for 2024 can really strengthen, can make the difference. Holistic wealth is generational, and it can have generational impacts for your family, for your loved ones. And once we opt into holistic wealth, we're passing the baton for generations to come, for that holistically wealthy lifestyle to pass down through generations. And we're talking about breaking generational curses and breaking generational patterns that were negative in the past and didn't serve us well. Once we take that step today, the first day of 2024, to break that pattern, we're taking that step in that healing direction to pass the baton to generations, to run with this and to actually shape lives that have more impact, that are more powerful, that are legacy builders and humanity advancers. And so that's what we want to do. And so one other thing to opt out of in 2024, mindlessness and living life on autopilot. And it's so easy every single day to get up and do the same things over and over, even though we know they're not serving us, even though we know in 2023, when we did that, we got a result that we didn't want. And so taking those tiny steps, mindfulness, and really, I said in holistic wealth, every single one of us makes 50,000 decisions each and every day. Most of the times they're mindless decisions. So being more strategic, living more intentional in 2024 is critical and is also part of opting into holistic wealth. Now, I did mention finances before, and I know finances were huge in 2023, huge. Interest rate increases, inflation, a cost of living crisis around the world, not just in the United States, but here in Canada, all over the world, in the Caribbean, in Africa, in Europe. We all witnessed the same thing, and so many people are suffering because of that. So of course, in opting into holistic wealth, we're also opting into financial wellness, increasing our financial well-being, increasing our financial literacy. And that's something that I'd love everyone to embrace more of. So basically, upping the ante in 2024, having those money date nights, whether you're single or married, and you can go back to that previous episode. I think 2 episodes ago, we did how to have a money date night. In 2024, I want everyone doing this more. Your 2024 budget should be in place by a certain time, and really just starting the new year with some healthy habits will set you right on that path to holistic wealth. And as I said before, it is absolutely a journey. And it's not like a one size fits all. We do actually help people create their holistic wealth portfolios. And that's unique to everyone, unique to each family. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you also need to have a holistic wealth portfolio that you can update, that you can carry with you throughout life. And I'm advocating when you opt in to holistic wealth that you absolutely should have that holistic wealth portfolio. But there's so much in terms of what we need to really have a meaningful life, to really make 2024 the year that we all want it to be and think about those hopes and dreams. And so, as I said, this is going to be a quick episode, so I don't want to belabor anything. I know that today is such a special, important day. I'm so thankful that you joined us today from whatever you're doing. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey and really being a part of the Holistic Wealth Podcast and the Holistic Wealth Movement. If you haven't already, please do get your copy of the book. Check out the Institute's website. It's www.instituteonholisticwealth.com. Please subscribe to this podcast. Share it with a friend. I think everyone at the start of 2024 needs this message for how they can opt into holistic wealth. And do spread the word. If you haven't yet left a review, just a quick review for this podcast on iTunes or Spotify, please do leave a review on those platforms. If you can't, there's several other platforms, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, where you can leave a review. You can leave the review anywhere that you can absolutely do that. We appreciate hearing back from everyone. And as I said, we've had so many people reach out and tell us how this message has been impacting their lives in so many ways. We're so grateful for the messages that we receive from listeners to the podcast. It gives us that extra juice to go on. So thank you so much to all of you who've opted in the past. And for new listeners listening in, welcome to 2024. We hope you make the Holistic Wealth Podcast a part of your journey for this year. Episodes are out every week on a Monday, and you can tune in to past episodes, to listening, to catching up. And one other thing that I want you to opt into before I go is opt into embracing your personal financial identity, because it is key on your financial journey. And the free quiz is available on the Institute on Holistic Wealth website. It's www.instituteonholisticwealth. You'll see the free quiz there. And there are past episodes of the Holistic Wealth podcast that actually have experts and guests that we've had on the podcast talking about how they embrace their personal financial identities. And absolutely, financial self-care is a part of overall self-care. So in 2024, we're opting into radical self-care. And that's the type of self-care we need in these turbulent times. Radical. We're putting ourselves in a position where anything in our lives that's depleting our holistic wealth bank accounts, we're reducing or eliminating. So absolutely everyone, have a great new year. All the best to you and your families. Once again, Happy New Year. The happiest of all to everyone listening in. Love you all. And please continue this journey with us throughout 2024 and beyond on the Holistic Wealth Podcast. Have a great week.
The Holistic Wealth Podcast with Keisha Blair is brought to you by...
Have you joined the Institute on Holistic Wealth? If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Choose your membership plan at the Institute on Holistic Wealth/memberships to join. As a member, you'll get access to free worksheets, advice, coaching, and an intentional design workshop. As you start to live a more holistically wealthy lifestyle, you'll want to stay for a very long time. So go to Institute on Holistic Wealth/memberships to join. If you haven't read the book yet, pick up a copy of the award-winning best-selling Holistic Wealth 36 Life Lessons to help you recover from disruption, find your life purpose, and achieve financial freedom.